All right, market's open. Let's go. Let's get right to it because we're coming down the stretch here. The final quarter of the 2023 year. We got to make sure we make some strong moves. I have a couple holds here I wanted to address because I am only holding two in the Heisman race. Bo Nix, who I bought after they lost to Washington, one of the best buys of the year, and Jaden Daniels, LSU quarterback. Those are the only two guys I am holding for the Heisman. I sold Penix, sold Carson Beck. Boy, Bud was a spot on that. I said he was 50-1 last week. Should you take a nibble? And you said, no, he's going the wrong direction. Sure enough, he's at 100-1 now. The game against Georgia Tech wasn't great. Jalen Milroe selling. I don't know if that was ever a serious buy anyway, but if you say, give me the Heisman after completing a Hail Mary, bro, give me about 20 more touchdown passes, then get back to me. And that ain't going to happen in the SEC championship game. So pipe down a little bit. It was amazing, the Milroe miracle. But I am selling the Heisman stock of those three guys. Should I be hanging on to anybody else besides Bo Nix or Jaden Daniels? Specifically, should I be keeping Michael Penix? I feel like selling him is the right thing to do.
I would sell. He hadn't looked right for about a month.
Yeah. But
I know. He could eliminate Bo Nix by having a 4-touchdown game and Nix struggles and he wins that game. But then I do feel like that's where Daniels comes back to the conversation. Like, I think that's Daniels' path. Shoot, if he does a 2-minute drill to lead from behind and score the winning touchdown, like that could be Penix's in if he gets there. I don't know if I see it. And he has been banged up. So, and I think Bo Nix, what's that?
Ballots got delivered this morning. Only 3 spots on that ballot. It does feel like there are 3 names. And if you think that Penix, even as banged up as he is, can go have a heroic performance, standalone spot on Friday night leading into championship Saturday, have, like you said, 4 touchdowns, and maybe he is hurt, and maybe we even can tell that he's hurt, but he's just Jake Haynering it out there, just leaving it on the field. I mean, there's a lot of romantic voters that would look at that and use that as a reason to name him the most outstanding player in college football.
For sure. All right, you know what I'm buying? You guys might think I'm crazy. I'm buying Auburn's defense at the end of the game against, I'm calling it a Hail Mary. I mean, I know we ran it every practice. Everybody runs a Hail Mary drill at the end of every practice. I am totally okay with rushing 2. And they even had a spy, so they did kind of have 3 there for him. You have everybody backed up in the end zone, and because one guy loses his spatial awareness and takes his eye off the ball, which is basically what you should have been doing. I'm selling the defender. I'm buying the defense, the scheme itself, because all you had to do, it's sort of like basketball when you're playing sort of help defense and you're kind of keeping one eye on the defender, the other's on the ball, and you're kind of keeping an eye on both. So when the ball's in the air for like 3 or 4 seconds, because it's a 40-yard pass because he had to drop back, that you can react to it. Why? The defensive back took his eyes off the ball and was looking around and had no clue where the ball was. That is not a reason for me to sell the scheme. So I'm selling the player. I'm buying the scheme.
Why are we spying with 34?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. We don't need a spy on 4th and goal from the 31.
In fact, I wish that's another good one. Like the spy thing didn't make a lot of sense. I think you would have preferred to have him rush from the pocket, start running, because once he crosses the line of scrimmage,
rally to the ball.
Yes. Right. Then you just come up and make a tackle, keep him in front of you. So the spy I would question, but I would have rushed him then instead. I would have said rush 3 instead of having the spy. But in the secondary, I thought was the bigger collapse there for Auburn at the end of the game. Others. You know who I am? I'm buying groomers. We talked about that. Not groomers. Groomer. I want to make sure I don't say that right.
Okay, wait, what?
I'm buying John Gruden rumor.
We're gonna need that sound clip, Jordan. I'm buying
I am buying groomers left and right. The best groomers in Palm Beach.
Definitely not buying the groomers out there. Buying the John Gruden rumors that are out there. I know Tom had my back on that one. Let's get him not only the Indiana job, let's mention him for every job. Let's get him back in the conversation. It makes it that more interesting for college football as a whole. Head coaches, I'm buying I have a pitch for you guys. And this is sometimes like if I'm your market analyst, this is the pitch I have to make to you guys. Because I feel like at some point there would be a bubble for the head coach's buyout money that's out there. But I don't know if there is. I mean, it keeps going up. We mentioned Tom Allen getting $15 million. Dana Holgerson at Houston getting $15 million. We saw No Jimbo at $77 million. Where can we go provide some insurance that we can buy stock in the buyout, that it's going to happen and it's going to be big and it gives the school some protection, but then you get some return on your investment? Is anybody smart enough to come up with a plan for that? Almost like an insurance policy you can buy in on. And then if the coach coaches and he rides off the sunset or retires or goes somewhere else, then you're stuck with zero. But if he's fired, you get a portion of the buyout.
So we're bundling bad mortgages and selling them to other banks.
Yes, pretty much.
Worked out well.
Jordan, there's another. So speaking of, I know where that comes from, what movie that comes from. There's another aspect to this. Give me my clip.
This is the first synthetic CDO.
I love Selena Gomez. Bet you $50 million she wins. And I'll give you 3-1 odds.
3-1 odds? Okay, I'll take that bet.
Now, somebody else is going to want to make a bet on the outcome of their bet.
$50 million she wins.
That will lead to synthetic CDO number 2.
Hey, I bet you $200 million that lady in the glasses wins that bet.
She probably will win. So I want a great payoff.
How about 20-1?
Deal.
And this will go on and on.
All right, so that goes on and on. So there's some sort of an idea what you potentially could do with coaches, but you know what it could do in reality? If you remember it, there was a hand of blackjack that was dealt when she started that scene. You guys are holding some really good tickets that I want a piece of. And I think we could maybe – so who is holding Oklahoma State to win the Big 12? Both of you guys? Yeah. You guys want to make any deal on that? Like what odds are you at, and what ones could I possibly get in on?
I have already hedged to the gills.
As you should be. As you should be.
Yeah, as a 14-point underdog, I felt that the safer fiscal choice on my part was to hedge.
I mean, I'm not overextended on it. Like I may or may not hedge. I might do like a YouTube short on like what's the proper hedge strategy, but really it is largely a function of like what's your bankroll and how much did you actually put on this, right? I mean, if you put like 2 or 3% of your bank on it, you probably should hedge, right? If you put like, 0.5% or 1/4%, then, probably not, right? Like if your bank's like 100K and you put like $500 on it, probably just ride it, I'm just using for round numbers, right? It's easier than saying like if your bank's $1,000, you put 50 cents,
Yeah. So Chip, do you want some action? I'll give. I'll give you 3-1. Swimming make a bet that their ticket hits, and then we'll go at their odds.
Swimming in deep waters. Boy needs floaties.
That's how you had a market collapse. Explain in a nutshell.
But aren't you also on some Louisville too?
I do have some Louisville. Yeah. Yeah, that probably let that ride too.
Oh boy, a couple more sells to close out the action here on a day trade and Danny Monday. I'm selling ESPN's FPI. It used to piss me off so much. Do you guys see the latest one?
No.
Where it had like
playoff odds?
Oh yeah. Did you know which one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, but like, is it a bid or is it real? Because like if you're Allstate who sponsors it, you're loving this because like it gets so many interactions on Twitter and social media. Like
I wish it was a bit, but these are the formulas. So Ohio State #1, right? After what we saw this weekend, Michigan 2, Oregon 3, Penn State. Everybody loves Nittany Lions, and I get all those Penn State backers love that 4 ranking in the FPI. Georgia at 5, Bama 6, Oklahoma at 8, behind Texas at 7, Florida State checking in at 9 with LSU right behind them. I'm at a point where should we retire the FPI? I think we should just retire it.
Well, all right.
Think it serves a purpose?
It's a power rating.
It's a power rating.
Correct. But isn't it flawed?
Everyone's power rating is different. Like, if you look at lots of different power ratings, Florida State's power rating for a while now has not lined up with its poll position or its ranking position according to the selection committee. Now, This is like when Nick Saban went on all of those shows and was like, "Oh, Las Vegas says that we'd be favored against all the playoff teams." And we were like, "Yeah, well, Nick, it's not. There's some most deserving too." Florida State's path to the college football playoff is not for best. It is one of the most deserving, that they have earned it on the field. And a power rating is not going to say that Florida State is a top 4 team. But I'm glad that we don't use a power rating, because if we only used a power rating to pick playoff teams, why play the games?
Also,
Exactly.
I will say, like, what Chip's saying is true. If you've been betting Florida State games using power ratings this year, you're losing your ass. Like, for whatever reason, the numbers are not catching up to how well they've played. I don't know exactly what it is. Coaching, quarterback, something like that, maybe. But like, yeah, you would have been fading them in almost every game, and they've been covering quite often.
I was for the first half of the year. Yeah.
Hey.
I said, I'm done. I'm out of this. I'm
You
tired
faded
of
him
it.
on our pregame show against Florida. So I just want to remind you of that one. How'd that one work out?
Oh, man, I was proving a moron there for sure.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to say that is coaching. 2 reasons. Number one, on the surface level, Florida State's been a good second half team, an excellent fourth quarter team, with the exception of the Boston College game early in the season.
Yeah.
They have been doing a good job of outscoring their opponents after halftime. So that is a coaching decision to run it up when you can, and also to make adjustments when things aren't going well. So off the top of my head, I would credit Norvell for that one.
I know I already sold Colorado after Deion threw his players under the bus once. And I think at the time I said, I still think in year 2, you could see that big turnaround. I'm selling the year 2 turnaround. And I think a lot of people are going to have this mentality. It's going to be a lot of off-season, chatter based on the excitement we saw at the beginning of this year. But I almost feel worse about Colorado this season than I did coming into the season, if that makes sense. So coming into the season, my expectation, rough year. It's going to be a rebuild year, but year 2 will be the year you see the big turnaround. I feel worse about them now, even though they did have those 4 wins early in the season, because of some of the things you're seeing, the way Deion has handled, just coaching X and O's, clock management throughout the season, the way he's handled the adversity, the way that we kind of predicted there was going to be a staff exodus. By the way, Tim Brewster now resigns. He was one of his better recruiters, one of the guys with more experience than most on his staff. I think you're going to lose Sean Lewis. We talked about that, the offensive play caller. Now you're starting to see recruits. They just lost a big recruit over the weekend. I am not so sold. I think this might just be more chaos. Now, I think it'll be more than 4 wins, because it should be a little bit easier path in the new Big 12. But I am selling Colorado's year 2 big turnaround, competing for the Big 12 championship.
I don't want to say stuff that's clippable in November with us not knowing what they're going to get or not get in the portal.
But
what I did say preseason was that we really don't know if Deion can coach. And I got a lot of blowback for that. But they had such a talent advantage in the SWAC that they rarely had to play close games in which you had to make difficult decisions. Right now, they choked away the bowl game against South Carolina State the one year pretty bad, and it looked pretty outcoached in both those games, honestly. But we didn't really know. And Deion, from a game management perspective, quite frankly, was a disaster several times. So he can improve in that. Like, there's nothing intrinsic about Deion that says he has to keep making bad decisions in close games, right? It was also his first year at like an actually competitive level with equal or lesser players. So I'm open to the idea that Deion can get better as a game manager. Like, guys can get better as you can kind of go to analytics school, right? And just
you can
learn.
hire somebody to take that position that does it
so
for you.
Why can't he get a little better at that? Now, they did lose superstar quarterback recruit Antoine Hill. That commitment lasted 5 weeks. I wonder if some guys aren't using Deion to like get their
raise their own profile
score up, and then they bounce to more of a real program. I think that's probably a thing. His tone has totally changed too. 2 weeks ago it was, we're not an ATM. Yesterday it was, we need money. These good players cost money, right? Preseason, hey, I'm bringing in the Louis. Now it's I know all the holes on his roster. I know all of our deficiencies. So maybe some realism setting in.
Last to say too, if we look back and you look at Colorado's, like, obviously great start to the season, a lot of excitement. none of the 4 teams Colorado beat this year are going to a bowl game.
Yeah.
TCU finished 5-7. Nebraska finished 5-7. Colorado State's 5-7, and Arizona State was 3-9.
Mm-hmm.
But they kept it close with USC.
Mm-hmm.
And
Who
covered.
finished well below expectations too.
And covered against Arizona.
Yeah,
You covered.
that might be their best
I mean,
game.
that's the thing. They exceeded expectations because the win total was 3.5. It's just those first 3 wins, because it was against a TCU team that literally had played in the title game last year, a Nebraska team that's Nebraska, just really raised expectations for what the rest of the season was going to be to a ridiculous, completely unattainable level.
Do they win more games next year?
What's the schedule?
Have you seen the schedule? The schedule is not nice.
Yeah, no, it's
North Dakota State to open.
that's tough.
I think North Dakota State would beat them this year. At Nebraska. Look, I would expect Nebraska to have a nice year in the transfer portal. Like, you know my thoughts on the Satterfield offensive coordinator hire and his track record, but I still think Nebraska will be an improved football team next year. At Colorado State, at Arizona, host Utah, which I think we'll have all 11 back on offense starter-wise. Host Baylor, host Oklahoma State, host Kansas State, Cincinnati, at Kansas, at Texas Tech, at UCF.
It'll be curious to see what their win total is.
That's tough.
4.5.
Right.
Well, it was what, 4.5 this year, and in some places it was 3.5. We have 5.5
That was,
over the
that was
summer.
this year when they had Stanford and Arizona State.
Yeah,
You know, like it's,
that's tough.
And
you had
Colorado State coming off a 2-win year, right?
yeah,
So,
you had some bottom feeders that aren't there on that Big 12 schedule. That's tough.
Telling you, I'm
it'll
selling
be
the year 2.
fascinating to watch.
Selling the year 2 turnaround for Colorado. Last one.
When does
I'm
the show come
selling.
out?
What's that?
When does the show come out?
Oh,
Are
the Amazon one?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
We'll have to see. I can't wait to see that. Last sell quickly. I'm selling coaches running out in the field like they're still playing. We see Dabo do it, right? We see him come running down that hill. It's going to be a disaster waiting to happen. And you guys know where I'm going because Brent Venables is in the tunnel. There's smoke everywhere. You can't see anything. He goes down. I legit think he almost died. I am so like, you need to, all these coaches need to stop. We've seen people get trampled before at sporting events, just not the head coach. You need to be careful. Stay out of there. You guys aren't players anymore, or you're going to end up like Mufasa in The Lion King when you get trampled by the herd. If you look at some of the angles, you can see the pileup of players. Like, they're all falling on top of him. They're just trying to get out to the field. Coaches, let the players go, and then just do like kind of an intimidating walkout with a game face on. Go Kirk Ferentz on them. Just go old school. Stop trying to run out with the players. You ain't playing no more. That's it. Market closed.